get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. Him and I have known each other for a long time. He's been on the show, but we bond on a very, very specific topic, and that is carrier relationships, the importance of it, the big difference between actually working your freight and posting and praying and hoping a lot of these things work out. And I think, currently what's going on in the industry is opening up a lot of people's eyes to maybe their operations aren't as rock solid as they used to be, because you can't just quote a price now and find 47 trucks to do every single load that you have available. So we're going to talk a lot about capacity, some automation, what's actually killing your margins out there. And I want to welcome my friend Nick Dangles back on the show. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Hey, Chris, good to connect with you again, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
No, dude, absolutely. It's been, obviously we saw each other back at TIA here a few weeks ago. And, I don't know if anybody had any idea or even thought about what was actually going to be happening in the market in just a couple of short weeks, right?
Yeah. No, it's been wild, particularly with the Supreme Court decision coming down too. It's been an exciting few weeks in freight.
No, dude, it has. And I don't know. I'm going to talk more about that, because I try and reserve a lot of opinions on that right away. I know everybody's a legal scholar on social media and they know everything about it. I try and let lawyers speak. And I know that what came down, I'm not in support of it. And I'm not going to hide behind that and try and mask that. But I'm also there's a lot of stuff that's going to shake out here. I'm assuming there's going to be a ton of lawsuits that are going to be filed to challenge and do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have a law degree, but I certainly don't practice, so I'm not going to sit here talking about the legal aspect of it, pretending that I'm a legal expert. I'm not. Yeah. But I think there's something that, just as an overarching thing that brokers need to keep in mind, is that they have to, one, mitigate their risk, and that's incredibly important. But two, you have to do so in a way while also maintaining a high access to capacity. If you mitigate your risk and then you can't find any trucks, it's going to be just as much of a problem for you. So those two things, mitigating risk, maintaining access to capacity, you got to do those two things as a freight broker.
How do you mitigate risk, right? How do you go about that in today's environment? What are some of those things that you've heard, or, you're working with your clients on about hey guys, this is where we need to start? Because I think it's easy to sit up here and speak in headlines, right? Where it's hey, we have to mitigate risk. You have to have a better carrier selection process. You got to document everything. Okay. But granularly, what does that look like from an application standpoint?
There are a lot of compliance platforms out there that can help with this. There are plenty of very smart people in the legal field that can tell you like what the requirements that you should be adhering to are. So I'm going to approach this more from the standpoint of like carrier relationships and capacity, right? Like you have to have like solid carrier relationships. It sounds simple, but like a big part of reducing your risk is just understanding the carriers that you're working with, right? Like if every carrier that you work with is an unknown that you're finding on load boards or other ways, I mean, that opens you up to just a huge risk. So like, part of de-risking your operation is just understanding your carrier base and maximizing the amount of freight that you're giving to your in-network carriers prior to going to unknown carriers that you need to start like vetting more.
Yeah, no. I know what you're getting at here, Nick. And, you know, it's like, I think right now, because you see a lot, and I try to stay off of social media as much as humanly possible. Fortunately, I have people behind the scenes who edit and distribute a lot of my content now, because like it to me, it's exhausting to scroll through like LinkedIn and you see all these people like, oh, carriers don't want relationships. They want so much more money now. They want this. And this is all coming from the same motherfuckers, Nick, who posted a load for $1 a mile with a straight face and told these carriers that's the market, deal with it, right? So it's like, it's those things that really just drive me up the wall, because like, I'm not going to sit here and say we have everything figured out internally inside of my operation, but I practice what I preach on this. All of our core carriers that we worked with pre-high diesel prices, pre all of that, they're still working with us. Are the rates higher now? Yes, they are. That's called a free and open market. And most importantly, though, they're still coming to us, because ultimately what most brokers are going to experience at some point this year is most shippers at the end of the day, it's not about the rate. It's, do you actually have a truck to come in and pick this load up? And I don't know if enough people can actually see that, because they're like, I just got to go out there and find a cheaper truck. I got to push these rates down. I got to do this. And it's like, yeah, maybe. But ultimately, I've had these conversations with all of my customers already. They are all saying the same thing. They're like, hey, listen, we understand all of these factors are going on right now. You don't need to tell us this every time. I mean, we don't. But it's one of those things where like, if you quote us a rate, please ensure there's an actual truck for that shipment. And that is, we're able to do that because like our core carriers are still feeding us their capacity. They're, you know, yeah, rates are up a little bit here and there, man. But like at the end of the day, that is a cyclical market. That's all part of it. And you have to be able to exercise that. I think what's happening more to the broker community now is all of their precious little fucking egos are bruised, that they can't talk down to a bunch of carriers now and say, take it or leave it. I honestly think that that's what it is.
Yeah. Like, dude, you hit on a lot of things there.
Yeah, I know.
That I can talk about. So I want to hit on one specifically. Like when we're talking about carrier relationships, like as I'm talking to like brokerages about carrier relationships, like there's a difference. There are carrier relationships and then there are carrier relationships.
Yeah.
When I talk to brokers and they say they have these amazing carrier relationships, what most of them mean is they have some recurring freight. They have some carriers that'll take a lane for them regularly. And when that lane comes up, they call that carrier and the carrier takes the load. That is, like, in my opinion, the bare minimum that you're going to have to even say that you have a carrier relationship. On the other hand, other brokers take it a step further, right? Yes, they have like recurring carriers on their lanes, but they're also having these strategic conversations with their carriers about what other lanes they run, where the broker can possibly fill other holes in the carrier business. And then they're using that information to go to their shippers and get more freight for their carriers, right? It's not just about, oh, hey, I have a carrier that I can call for this one lane. It's how do I have strategic conversations with this carrier to more effectively leverage this relationship, right? Like that's what I mean when I say carrier relationships and carrier relationships. Yeah. That first one, I mean, it's fairly flimsy and yeah, like they might bail on you when the market turns. The second type, that's the much stickier relationship that you want to work towards.
Yeah. And I think, you know, more often than not, you need to understand that I mean, because like I used to get like offended when people would quote hire, you know, and change all of that. It used to piss. Now I'm just like, if that's what you need, let's lock it in. Like if their service, if their communication's on point, you know, they follow our SOPs, i.e., hey, we send photos of the load, you know, we send you the BOL, all of that stuff, communication's on point. Fuck it, man, let's roll, right? Like it is what it is. But what you're describing there, Nick, I mean, like I was talking about that yesterday on my show. And we do that, right? Like we reach out to our carriers who run specific lanes, Arizona to New Mexico, Arizona to Colorado, Arizona to Utah, Nevada, Idaho, stuff like that. And we're like, hey, when are your trucks going to be available? Where are they at right now? How many loads can you commit to? And then we present that capacity to our customer. We did that yesterday and we won 7 loads from our shipper based on that strategy, right? So like none of this is a thought experiment here, you guys. This is actual applicable shit that I do day in and day out inside of my business. And you can do that too. It's just not a post and pray methodology that a lot of people rely on. And I think, you know, I've always said this, and I know you and I have talked about this as well. It's like, if you live by the spot market, you're going to die by the spot market as well. There is hidden capacity out there that's not hidden, but there's hidden capacity out there where there are plenty of carriers who will never go to the load board. They don't have to go to the load board because they've paired themselves up with freight, with brokers and maybe direct freight, where they just go and they stay off of that. And there's that black market of freight, we could call it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I agree with you. As I talk to brokers, an issue that they run into with like their capacity strategies, if you will, is that they treat load boards as their only source of capacity.
Yeah.
If that's your only source of capacity, that explains a lot of the problems that you're having. Like there are plenty of carriers out there, arguably better carriers and more reliable carriers, that don't post their trucks. Yeah. And those are the ones that you want to find. Like I don't mean to like minimize the importance of load boards, right? I mean, like there's definitely a time and a place for load boards. Like if your truck falls off and you have 2 hours to cover a load and you need access to live capacity, dude, use a load board, right?
Yeah.
If that same load picks up in a couple of weeks and you have time to source capacity effectively, this is when you need to start reaching out to carriers that are actually going to want this load because it fits into their network, as opposed to, I happen to have a truck available, right?
There's a time and a place for that. And I think, you know, I'll always say load boards are the most effective way to get access to as much capacity in a short amount of time. And you can get that, you can find that same day option. And a lot of it is the actual availability of the shipment. Like if you need a truck in an hour, don't make fucking outbound calls. All right. Like if you need, hey, I need an empty truck right now because that could be to this, post that shit up, especially if it's a new lane, right? Because I think a lot of individuals aren't working. They're reactively covering their freight. They're reactive, like the customers are coming to them. Hey, work this load today. They're not in their customer's inbox. They're not actively working the account. You know, a lot of people are waiting for that to come in, but it's like, I think to go out there and find that original capacity base, the smartest thing, the most effective way is post that out there, right? You've never moved this lane before, or maybe this is a newer lane. It's the most effective way to build up a capacity base. But once you have that, once you've moved that lane a few times and you got a carrier who picks up on time, delivers on time, communicates very well, does all the bells and whistles that your customers like, go to them first then before you go and post that up. And then follow that they deliver the load. Hey, when are you going to be back in Arizona? When are you going to be back down in Laredo? I have another one of these where I can reach out to my customer and see, did this lane work for you? And if you can follow these like that's how you build that up. Like, man, I got carriers in like that we're working with today that I was working with at my last brokerage job. And then I had that few-year hiatus out of the industry. I'm still working with them, right? Because it's on the lanes that they want to run. And we just work it. We call them, we text them, we keep them in the loop. I will let them know every single load that I have out of Arizona. Hey, I got this one. You interested? No, you're not back yet? Cool. Let me know when you're back. Hey, I got this one. Do you know when you're going to be back in? I want to work that capacity because right now, when capacity tightens up during Blitz week, pre-holiday, post-holiday week, all of that stuff, you look like a rock star to your customer when you might not be able to do 10 loads in a week like you used to. But if you're able to get to 4 or 5 covered in a week with those same carriers, you look like an absolute rock star to your customers right now.
Yeah. Like I might differ with you a little bit in terms of like that, like targeted sourcing process. I tend to like prioritize outbound efforts more, particularly if I have time to do the sourcing. Admittedly, a lot of this depends on like your freight mix, your internal business rules, the bandwidth of your team, your size of your brokerage, and so on and so forth. And shameless plug here, a lot of this is what we're designing Maestro to help brokers figure out, right? Like what is the right resource to cover this load based on like the circumstances of the day? Again, like the example I mentioned earlier, you have two lanes that are two of the exact same loads that are moving. One of them moves in 2 weeks. Another one is moving in 2 hours. You're going to have a different coverage strategy for both of those loads. So how do I direct people to the best decisions based on the context? Like that's, again, shameless plug, but like that's what we're working towards. It's kind of like the decision-making layer on the capacity side of brokerage.
So do you think that is one hurdle that a lot of operations find is, you know what, they might not know who to reach out to in that moment, right? Because I don't know of anybody who moves freight that doesn't want to build a carrier base. I don't know of anybody that does. I mean, again, if your incentivization model is to find the cheapest truck out there, more power to you, right? Like you probably don't listen to this show because that you are very aware that is not a practice that I follow. And I am not here to justify why you are the way that you are. But when we're looking at technology and automation right now, it is one of those things like working to like, how do we effectively work our carrier network without killing our margins, right? Like without going out there and doing that, because you might instinctively go to a load board to find a truck and you might find a truck at a higher rate. And then your regular was like, damn, dude, I would have done that load. Why didn't you hit me up? Something like that, right? So is that where you guys are working? It is you're taking your internal data and then, hey guys, these are the top 5 carriers for this lane. Contact them first.
Yeah. Like that's a big part of it. It's like, which load should you be prioritizing? Which carrier should you be contacting first? And really, like, how should you be prioritizing your day? Like when you look at brokerages, they have a lot of problems, but like a couple problems specifically that lead to this is one, a carrier sales rep's day is kind of choose your own adventure. Maybe you're regionalized, maybe some loads are assigned, but like you walk in, you see your open board, and you kind of have the choice of, well, what load am I going to work on first? Which carriers am I going to call for this load? How am I going to prioritize my day? And unfortunately, like people sometimes struggle making these decisions. Like one, it takes them a long time to make these decisions. It takes like 3 to 5 minutes to figure out what to do next sometimes. And two, there's so much going on. There's so much data that they're not able to kind of capture and use. And they have a lot of conflicting incentives that oftentimes they make decisions that just aren't in the best interest for their company, right? Like high performers tend to be a really good example of this because like they're able to pick off that like easy to book high margin freight, even though it might not be in the best interest of the company. Like you understand this. If it's like 9 months out of the year and you see Miami to Chicago moving next week, and you also have some god awful Northeast short haul flatbed load tomorrow that's going to be a pain to cover, what are you going to book first?
Yeah, exactly.
Miami to Chicago, let's go. Right. But like from a company perspective, what needs the most focus? That flatbed load for tomorrow, man. So the question is, how do we direct these people to the highest value activities for the company? And like, that's what we're moving towards with Maestro.
Because to me, it's like the decisions I look at it is the decisions you need to eliminate as much of them from your day as possible to have so where you're focusing on the right decisions, right? Where it's like, hey, yes, you got these 5 carriers for this one load. This is the decision you should be calling. Your only decision should be call these 5, right? Not who should we reach out to? Let's build that load list, that carrier list up, then reach out to them. I think because it's like operational inefficiencies are such a killer to the majority of our operation. I mean, dude, and I talk about it often on this show and in private as well. The hardest part of business for me, Nick, it's not the fucking job, man. It's not the reading the market. It's not. It's systems development, and then actually working through them long enough and hoping what you decided to do fucking 6 months ago is actually going to turn a profit. That's the hardest part of this shit to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly difficult, and particularly for individuals, because what's best for the company and what's best for the individual are often different things. So you have to direct them to these things that are like in the best interest of the company. And without that, like oftentimes they just pick the path of least resistance.
Yes.
You know, if I have the option of spending like an hour just stripping out this load to find the best carriers that actually match up and like find that backhaul versus posting this load and covering it on an inbound call in 30 seconds, like it's a no-brainer. They're just going to post the load. It's the path of least resistance, but it's not what's best for the company. So how do we direct people to these best, like highest value decisions? Another thing you hit on a minute ago, like you talked about technology a little bit. So I've been talking to a lot of like larger brokerages about this, and this idea of like task prioritization has come up a lot because so much new technology has come into the market. I think everyone's heard the tech spiel of, oh, we're going to eliminate your mundane tasks so that your people can focus on what they're good at and what they want to do. You know what? You know what people do when you take away their mundane tasks? One, they do nothing. Two, they go back to doing their mundane tasks. Like they just find a way because that's their comfort zone. So the question for a lot of like larger brokerages who have this technology now is, okay, like we've onboarded this new tech, but now our reps are just spending time playing on their phones.
Yeah.
How do I direct people to the new highest value activity they need to be doing now? They don't default into it.
Do you think people integrate too much technology into their operations? And if they do you think that is what's causing more inefficiencies?
Do brokerages integrate too much technology into their operations? I answer a lot of questions with it depends. Yeah. And I think this is another one where it definitely depends. You know, I certainly think some brokers are guilty of this where they see the shiny object that everybody else is using and they're like, oh, brokerage across the street's doing this. They're seeing great results. It must be a good fit for me too. So like, let's onboard this new technology, when the reality is that what's good for the broker across the street might not be a good fit for your business. So like, it depends, but yes, like I certainly think that this happens in the brokerage industry.
I think that there's a lot of shiny tools out there that is not actually necessary for your operation because your customer's not requesting it and it doesn't benefit your carriers. I think like that's one miss, I think, by a lot of tech companies inside of the freight space, where it's great for the broker, but like, does it actually add value to your customer and your carrier? And I don't think so in a lot of instances. I think there's a lot of great tools that are out there, but your business has to be very mature to see the ROI of that. Like I've been doing this job for a long time. None of my prospects give a fuck about anything about my experience or because they don't need my service right now, right? What do I need inside of my business? And I think that is a very big challenge for a lot of people is they think they need technology, but like they actually don't. Like, where's your business at? The biggest threat to my business is new customer development, because we have great shippers, right? Like we have 6 to 8 shippers that we work with on a consistent basis. Our revenue concentration though is too high with a couple of them. I'm trying to mitigate that risk and get that down. But when I'm going out there and trying to develop new business, I have a lot of great prospects in my pipeline, but it hasn't been bad enough for long enough to where people are really entertaining new options, at least for the ones that I'm calling. I'm not saying across the board. I know every time you pull up social media, everybody's fucking onboarding 75 new shippers a day. This is the greatest thing ever, blah, 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 blah.
Social media, Chris.
I know. Maybe, again, maybe I just suck, right? But the conversations I have with people, hey, you're great, but we're good, right? Like our current network's still servicing us at a high enough level. Okay, perfect. So my biggest threat to my business isn't a new piece of technology per se. It's how do I get in front of as many people as possible, right? What other sales channels do I have to lean into to generate more revenue for my company? Because DMing, emailing, cold calling, it's working, but it's not converting. So what do I have to do to convert? So like that's the biggest threat to my operation. But I think a lot of people are probably in the exact same position that I'm in, but they're like, let me automate all my email outreach now. That's going to solve all of my problems, you know? So I look at it as this technology is great, but if your business isn't there, don't financially kill yourself to say you have a piece of technology that isn't necessary for the revenue that, or like the actual short-term or long-term goals for your company.
Yeah, I agree that technology needs to meet a specific business goal that you have.
Yeah.
I don't know that it needs to be directly related to like your customers or customer acquisition or that side of the business. The way I look at it, I mean, there are kind of 3 ways to make money on a load, right? Like make more money on a load. You can increase your rate to your customer. You can buy better, so like get better rates from your carriers, or you can reduce your cost to serve, right? Like if you're looking to make more money and you onboard technology that helps you like find better carriers and reduce your like carrier spend, or it helps you increase your rates to your customers, or it reduces your cost to serve. I mean, those are all wins, right? Like you just have to make sure that you're actually using the technology in a way that makes it effective and drives towards an actual ROI. Like what I see a lot of the time is that people onboard the new technology and like they just don't understand how it's supposed to incorporate into their existing workflows. So they don't even use it. I think like since I sell capacity tech, I'll use capacity tech as an example. Like Maestro gives people like that list of best fit carriers to move their loads. If your process is a load comes in and the first thing we do is post it, well, you need to change your process for this to work, right? Like if you just post automatically for every single load, I mean, I can give you the most magical list of carriers in the world. And if it's your third step, like you're not going to get the value out of it that you should. There has to be a change in your operations to support the technology that you're onboarding.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, like I've said before, and I think this is a great time to say it again. If you have shitty processes and then you automate them, you just have automated shitty processes at that point. It's like I look at with where a lot of things are, and I'm to the point, Nick, where I'm like, dude, 90 to 95% of my day could and should be automated as a broker. Like straight up, could and should be automated as a broker. But there are key tasks that I never want automated. And this is a personal choice.
Yeah.
Sales of carrier or customer type of any time. Like if a carrier calls in, I want a real person answering the phone. If I'm making an outbound call, I want it to be a real human being. I want them to know it's a real human being. I don't want to automate that. It's just my personal opinion on that. But it's like, I look at it is you need to look at like, how do you build up a rock solid system, right? Like I talked about, the hardest thing for me is systems development, because as great as I think the idea is, I might not know until like 6 months down the road.
Yeah. Sorry, you froze for a second there.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
You are preaching to the choir. Most of my focus right now is on the capacity side. I totally agree with what you're saying on the customer side. Part of what we're doing is just helping direct like the right resource to the right task at the right time, right? So like on the carrier side, a load hits the board, you have a number of different ways to cover this load, right? I could have a human being work on it. I could use like an automated routing guide. I could use my favorite digital freight matching platform. I could have some sort of a like voice agent make calls on it. And the question becomes, well, how do I want to cover this load?
Yeah.
How should I decide which resource to assign to this task? And that's something that Maestro is working on, right? Like a load hits the board. If this is best automated, that I should assign to a digital resource, let's assign that to a digital resource, right? Clear the board up and then let people focus on those tasks that you want them focusing on. And that might be covering a load. It might be like having strategic conversations with a carrier about their business and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think we're at an inflection point where the market, because like obviously the market's changed, it's higher and everything else, but like we're going to eventually hit that stabilization factor, and where it's like I don't know if customers are going to just continuing to raise their rates. I mean, I could be wrong with that, but at some point we're going to hit that inflection phase of where like brokers' margins are going to start to be compressed at a higher level, right? Yeah. Where you're going to be like, hey, listen, no, we're not paying any more money. Figure it out. And then that's going to be, it's inevitable, right? Like it's always easier said than done. And it sounds overly simplistic, but eventually there will be a ceiling, and you're going to have to balance that out where, carriers might keep creeping up their rates a little bit and your margins are going to be compressed out there. I love the guys who always say, oh, we never lose on freight. You might have a rough go this summer if you're not willing to lose on some loads to service those accounts. So.
Yeah. But like, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there from, again, listening to the talking heads on social media.
By people who aren't actually doing the job, Nick. There's a lot of doom and gloom. All right.
Like, dude, this is just part of the game. Like, this is what it is. This is freight brokerage. This is what makes it fun.
Fuck yeah, man. This is the only way to separate yourself, dude. Like, if you actually take stock of these last 4 years of being in a broker market, how much actual new business development were you able to do? How much actual separation from your competitors were you actually able to perform? Minimal at best. I don't care. Like, if you scroll through social media, everyone is going to preach about the opposite of what I just said there. But the reality is when there's 17 trucks to one load, everyone looks like a fucking all-star as a broker. All right. We are about to embark upon a time where your true love for this industry is going to be tested, because there is going to be, again, where you say you're going to, a hypothetical lane, you quote $3,000 to your customer. You had a $2,500 truck on it. Everything was going to be great. That $2,500 truck fell off or broke down or whatever happened. Now all the options you get are 29, 3, 31, 32. What are you going to do in that situation? Because there's like, no matter what, with rates being up, there's still plenty of trucks on the road right now. There are still plenty of capacity out there. So you're going to have, and if you aren't willing to lose money and make that decision, I think people's tolerance is going to be very, very limited here coming up, because the excuses are all going to be, you can't claim high diesel prices, high this, blah, 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 forever. All right. Eventually that's just a massive excuse, because your competitors, somebody in that network is making shit happen. And you using repeat carriers, you using a tool like what Nick has out here is the solution. All right. You might not want to be in that situation, but that's the reality of it. And as a broker, you have to be able to play both sides of the spectrum, i.e. customer development and carrier development.
Yeah, man. It kind of ties back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the show. Like, how do I mitigate my risk while also maintaining a high access to capacity? You're going to have to continue covering freight, and you're going to have to protect yourself while doing it. So how do I go about finding carriers and building relationships so I can continue servicing customers at the level they've been accustomed to, while also still protecting myself? Like, that's the name of the game.
No, I love it. Nick, thank you so much for your time. How does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you got going on, man?
Lots of different ways. Since we're talking about capacity today, we'll give you the Maestro information. So my email is nick@maestrocapacity.com, or feel free to shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I am arguably way too active on there.
Oh, that's awesome. If you guys can't find Nick out there at all, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with him. Hit him up, you guys. He's got a great tool out there. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be rolling solo tomorrow because it's a Friday before a holiday. Who the hell wants to commit to coming on? Most people are already shutting down for the day out there, but we're going to come down. We're going to break down everything. And that's going to be it. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moves.